Okay, this is a fairly good selection of smoked fish. When we smoke fish, we can smoke it in two ways. We can hot smoke it, which means that we raise the kiln temperature for part of the process to between about 70 to 80 degrees, and we actually cook the product in the kilns. Or we can cold smoke it, where we just raise the temperature to about 30 degrees, which just imparts a little bit of smoke, a little bit of heat into the product, just to slightly change the nature and texture of the product. So here we've got an example of both types of product. This is salmon, which has been hot smoked. It's a fairly recent innovation. In the past, most of our smoked salmon was cold smoked, but there's so much farm salmon now available. They're looking to do alternative things with it, and hot smoked salmon is a really nice product. This is probably one of the nicest of the smoked fish. These are Arbro smokies, which is a small haddock that's been smoked in a very traditional way in a traditional kiln. A lot of the smoking these days is done in these large industrial mechanical kilns where the smoke is produced in one area and it's pumped into the kiln via a series of fans. Whereas with Arbro smokies, it would be a traditional old smoke hole which would be made of brick or metal, even wood perhaps, and the fish are literally tied in pairs and hung on metal rods literally straight over the smoke. So the smoke's going to come straight up over these fish. And if you smell these have got a lovely, wonderful, rich, tarry smell to them. This to me is the creme de la creme of smoked fish. It's absolutely superb. Whereas here you've got good examples of cold smoked fish, and you've got the old traditional way of smoking fish with a dye added into the product. And here you've got haddock with this yellow dye in. The reason why it's been dyed goes back to when we had distant water fishing fleet, and the boats would go out fishing for maybe 3 or 4 weeks at a time into the distant waters of the Arctic. And they'd come back and half the product would be going off before it was landed. Couldn't afford to throw it away because that was the profit on the voyage. So what they used to do is smoke it. And before you smoke the product, you have to brine it or salt it. In this case, we've used a brine solution to provide the salt into the product, and they would add a colour into the brine solution. So they give the product a lot of salt, a lot of colour, give it a good smoke, and that would mask up the poor quality of the fish. I mean, these days, our boats are only going out fishing for maybe 4 or 5 days at a time. So everything that gets landed is in good quality. But of course, if you go back to my parents' generation, they were used to eating smoked haddock that looked bright yellow. So if I tried to give them a natural smoked product without the colour, my parents would probably look at it and say, what's wrong with the fish? So we still have to produce this for the older consumer. The younger consumer doesn't want additives in their food unnecessarily, and will go for more a natural smoke like this. Some chefs still like to use this if you were producing a traditional fish dish, something like a kedgeree, where you're stirring the haddock into the rice. If you were to use an undyed smoked haddock, you'd have difficulty actually seeing the product in the rice dish. Whereas if you've got a nice bright yellow colour, you can actually see that there's a bit of fish into the final dish. So for the time being, we're still going to be producing quite a bit of this product, but year on year you're going to find more and more of the undyed product being sold.